Most commonly, you'll place one of three kinds of content in a Tablix cell. The first is static text. You can place static text in a cell as label to identify the data displayed in another cell. Sometimes when you add a field to a cell in the detail area, static text based on the name of the field in the data set will appear in the Tablix header. Another kind of content is a field reference. When you want to display a data item directly from the data set, the cell will contain a field reference. This is what happens when you drag a field from the Report Data window onto a cell, or select a field from the drop-down list when you hover your mouse over a cell. The drop-down list won't appear for all cells, particularly cells in a header row that generally don't contain dynamic data. The cell will display the field name in square brackets, such as order quantity. But this is just an abbreviated field reference that's shortcut for the expression equals field order quantity dot value. Both of those expressions are equivalent, but by default you'll see just order quantity as the shortcut in square brackets. And then the other kind of content is an expression. Anytime you want to display something in a cell that's calculated from data in the data set or other externalities, you use an expression. For example, all of the sample reports that I've shown you so far have had an expression something like sum of sales amount in order to sum the sales amount for a group or an entire report. But you can also create more complex expressions that use data from the data set, built-in fields, and variables you define, using various operators and both built-in and custom functions. For anything but simple expressions, a cell will display expression, EXPR, in kind of double angle brackets, and you'll have to open the expression editor in order to see the complete expression. Okay, so that's cell content. The other thing we need to talk about is cell scope. Reporting Services evaluates each of the cells in the Tablix in the context of its scope. Cell scope refers to the set of row and column groups in a Tablix data region that the selected cell belongs to. A cell can be a member of multiple groups, such as when it's a cell in a detail row in a matrix that is a member of both a row and column group. Groups can also be hierarchical, so the cell could be a member of multiple groups in the hierarchy. So a more precise description of cell scope is that it's the set of groups to which the cell belongs. The default scope of a cell is the innermost row and column group to which it belongs. But you can specify a wider scope as well. An expression in a Tablix cell always applies to the data in scope rather than the data visible in the Tablix data region. This makes a difference because there are two scopes in the Tablix: the scope for a group header and footer, and the scope for a Tablix footer. So in a group header or footer, the scope is the set of detail rows contained within the group. This could be the rows for a single territory or a calendar year. And then in a table footer, the scope is the entire set of records in the data set. It's not the set of records displayed in the Tablix. The two can be different. Understanding scope and getting it right is crucial for getting the correct result of an expression. Thankfully, the Tablix in the Report Designer displays a visual indication of the scope for the selected cell. All right, so consider this report preview. The report shows sales grouped by year, category, and subcategory, with subtotals for the year and category, as well as a grand total. So if I go down here, scroll down to the bottom of the report, and let's go directly to the last page, you can see there's also a grand total. So I have the grand total as well as totals for the group. All right, so I'll go to the design view now. And this is a tabular report, uses a table, and it's grouped by calendar year, category, and subcategory, within the sales amount, order quantity, and average sale in the details row. Okay, and so you can also see the row groups down here. So the subcategory here corresponds to the subcategory group. So if I select that cell, actually if I select the details here, you can see that there are nested groups because it has the details group, It's also a part of the subcategory group, which encompasses the rest of that row. The category group also encompasses those rows, and this provides a category total. And then the calendar year encompasses all of those and is the top level of the hierarchy. And so that's reflected down here within the row groups. It actually shows a hierarchy in this particular report. So again, these are nested groups. And that enables the different levels of subtotals. So I can include a subtotal for the category, subtotal for the annual, because that's in the calendar year, and then a grand total. Notice that this is a footer row that is outside of the detail area. So this is a grand total for all of the records in the data set that underlies this report. Okay, so looking at this table component, it shows the visual clues that you can use to identify the scope of a cell. So again, the hierarchy is calendar year to category to subcategory, going from top to bottom. So the sales amount and the other details fields here are in the details group. And that's indicated by this square bracket right there, gold or whatever color that is. Now if I select the category total item here, if I can select it, there we go, you can see that these totals are part of the category group. And then if I select this row here and select just the cell as opposed to the text within it, sometimes a little tricky, just do it right above the bottom there, okay, you can see that that belongs to the calendar year group. And if I select the sum down here, none of those square brackets are gold, so this is truly a grand total for all records in the data set. So this indicates that these cells are the entire data region. The scope of the cells is the entire data region, which is the same as saying the entire underlying data set. Now you can identify the cells in a Tablix that have group scope by these rounded brackets here within the row handles. The shortest and the innermost line right there indicates that a subcategory is the innermost group. The next longer line spans 2 rows and indicates that the category is the next step up the group hierarchy. And then finally, the longest, all-encompassing round bracket there, that spans 3 rows and indicates that calendar year is the top group of the hierarchy. Because the category total and annual total lines are within groups, those lines repeat in the report for each category and year. So this will repeat for each category, and this will repeat for each year, but because this isn't part of a group, it's a grand total, it's only going to be at the very end of the report. All right, then, because none of the rounded brackets include the header or footer rows, the cells in those rows are not in any groups and have data region scope. Those rows appear only once in the report, although there are ways to have them appear on every page of the report for convenience. They can be repeated. Now, grouping is an important concept to understand, and this course, in various places, explores various aspects of it.